She smiled at me like she knew a secret I wasn't ready to hear. And in that moment, everything changed. The story begins with the male narrator, a 25-year-old man, navigating the quiet rhythm of his everyday life. His mornings are predictable, coffee in hand, headphones in place, thoughts drifting between work, routine errands, and the faint ache of loneliness that he doesn't quite name. It's a life comfortable in its order, yet lacking something vital, a spark, a pulse, a subtle reminder that he is capable of feeling something new, something unexpected. On one ordinary afternoon, he steps into a small, warmly lit bookstore tucked into the corner of a familiar street. The air smells faintly of old paper, polished wood, and the lingering aroma of coffee from a tiny cafe adjoining the shelves. As he wanders between aisles, running his fingers along spines of books, his attention is drawn to a woman across the room. She is around 42, exuding an effortless elegance. Her hair softly framing her face, the gentle curve of her smile, the careful yet unhurried way she reaches for a book. There is something quietly commanding about her presence, a balance of confidence and understated vulnerability that immediately pulls him in. Their eyes meet, briefly, almost by accident, and for a moment the world seems to pause. He notices the slight tilt of her head, the warmth in her gaze, and the delicate flutter of her fingers as she adjusts a book on the shelf. There's a grace in her movements, a calm certainty that contrasts with his own restless energy. When their hands brush lightly while reaching for the same novel, the contact is electric yet fleeting. It's the kind of touch that doesn't demand anything but leaves a subtle imprint, a reminder that the ordinary can suddenly feel alive. He finds himself lingering nearby, not out of impropriety, but drawn by the quiet magnetism of her presence. She looks up, meeting his gaze again, and offers a small, knowing smile that seems to acknowledge their shared, unspoken connection. It's a smile that carries warmth, amusement, and the faint suggestion of curiosity, an invitation without words. Internally, he is a storm of awareness and hesitation. Every nerve seems attuned to the gentle cadence of her movements, the subtle inflections of her voice as she speaks softly to herself while flipping through a book. He notices the faint scent of her perfume, floral but understated, mingling with the musty warmth of the bookstore. It's intoxicating in the way that first impressions linger, the kind that can't be dismissed as mere coincidence. Even as he walks away, telling himself it was just a fleeting moment, the image of her smile and the brush of her hand refuses to leave him. A spark has been ignited, quiet but insistent, a promise of something unexpected, something that could disrupt the predictable rhythm of his life. He doesn't yet know what it is, but deep down, he senses that this encounter is the beginning of a journey that will challenge him, intrigue him, and awaken emotions he didn't realize were waiting to surface. In this first keynote, the audience is invited into a world of subtle tension, emotional curiosity, and sensory richness. The spark is set, the attraction established, and the slow burn journey begins, quiet, tentative, yet undeniably compelling. After that first fleeting encounter in the bookstore, the male narrator finds himself thinking about her more often than he expects. Her presence lingers in his mind like a soft, persistent melody. He begins to notice her in other familiar spaces, a cafe where he sometimes works on his laptop, a community event, even passing by on a quiet street. Each sighting carries a subtle thrill. The way she tucks a strand of hair behind her ear, the quiet confidence in her posture, the ease with which she carries herself in the world. Every encounter is brief, almost incidental, but it leaves an indelible impression. One afternoon, their paths finally cross intentionally. Perhaps they reach for the same book at the bookstore again, or a mutual friend introduces them at a small gathering. Their conversation begins cautiously, polite, and slightly awkward, yet there is a magnetic undertone neither can ignore. They exchange stories, small, personal anecdotes at first, lightly humorous or observant. He notices how she listens, really listens with eyes that hold his gaze and a subtle tilt of her head that invites him to share more. It's in these small exchanges that the attraction deepens, quietly but insistently. He is drawn to the warmth of her voice, the gentle timbre that seems to resonate in unexpected ways. When she laughs at something he says, it's not just a laugh, it's a full-body sensation, echoing warmth in his chest, a tangible connection that lingers after the sound fades. For her part, she finds herself intrigued by his quiet attentiveness, the way his eyes follow the conversation with genuine interest rather than idle curiosity. There are moments of accidental intimacy that send unspoken signals between them. A hand brushes his arm as she reaches for a notebook. A shoulder lightly presses against his in passing. A glance lingers just a heartbeat too long. These gestures are small, deliberate or not, but they carry an electric tension, a sense of closeness that both excites and unnerves them. Neither is ready to act on it, yet neither can deny the pull growing between them. Internally, the narrator is conflicted. He is captivated, intrigued, and a little daunted by her age, experience, and self-assuredness. He notices the subtle ways her life has shaped her confidence, her poise, the quiet depth in her eyes, and it both intimidates and fascinates him. For her, there's a quiet delight in his youth, in the sincerity and curiosity he brings, yet she carries her own hesitations, past heartbreak, social expectations, and the unknown consequences of a connection that defies convention. By the end of this keynote, the audience feels the slow-burning chemistry building, an invisible thread weaving them closer together. There is intrigue, mutual respect, and undeniable attraction, yet remains delicately restrained. The story's emotional core deepens, showing that romance is not always immediate or explosive. Sometimes, it grows in quiet, intimate moments where glances, gestures, and shared laughter are more powerful than words. The subtle connection is established, setting the stage for emotional vulnerability, tension, and eventual confession in the chapters to come. The audience is invited to savor the anticipation, to feel the electric hum of unspoken desire, and to wonder what will happen when the careful balance between restraint and longing inevitably shifts. By now, the male narrator has felt the pull of her presence like a quiet undercurrent, persistent and impossible to ignore. He's aware of it in small ways. A sudden glance at a cafe, door hoping to see her, the memory of her laughter echoing in his mind, the brush of her fingers still tingling in his memory. Yet the thrill of curiosity has grown into something more, a desire to know her fully, to reach beyond the superficial and into the heart beneath her composed exterior. One late afternoon, the opportunity arises. Perhaps they find themselves walking together through a quiet park, the kind where the air is tinged with the earthy scent of fallen leaves and distant blooms. Or maybe they share a cafe table, tucked into a corner where the world's hum softens around them. Either way, the stage is set for something deeper, an intimacy that neither planned but both need. She begins to open up, subtly at first, revealing fragments of her life that hint at past heartbreak and unspoken struggles. Her voice is soft, measured, yet carries a vulnerability that is impossible to ignore. The male narrator listens, fully present, not rushing to respond or offer solutions. He lets silence stretch comfortably between them, creating a space where her words, her pauses, and even her small sighs carry weight. The connection between them becomes tactile as well as emotional. Her hand brushes against his when she gestures, lingering just slightly longer than necessary. An unconscious test, a quiet invitation. He notices how her fingers feel warm and delicate, the slight tremor of movement betraying her composed exterior. There is a magnetic awareness in these touches, subtle but undeniable, the kind of closeness that makes the ordinary feel profound. He responds not with grand gestures, but with attentiveness, maintaining eye contact, nodding gently, leaning slightly closer when the words falter, offering the reassuring weight of presence. The world outside their shared space fades. All that matters is this small bubble of understanding, trust, and quiet longing. He feels the steady beat of her emotions through subtle body language, the tilt of her shoulder, the way her breath catches slightly when she pauses mid-sentence. Every detail etches itself into his awareness, building an intimate portrait of someone slowly revealing themselves to him. Internally, both characters wrestle with hesitation. He questions whether he is overstepping, whether his feelings are appropriate, whether the attraction will be reciprocated. She weighs the risks of allowing herself to feel again, of opening doors she once closed for fear of heartbreak. Yet the magnetic pull between them is impossible to ignore, and vulnerability becomes a bridge rather than a barrier. By the end of this keynote, the audience experiences a deepened emotional resonance. The story slows to the rhythm of their hearts, pauses, and subtle touches. Attraction is no longer just curiosity. It is trust, longing, and the fragile beauty of two people daring to be seen. This moment lays the foundation for the next stage of tension, where desire grows more insistent, and the internal struggle becomes palpable, setting the stage for the emotional climax to come. The narrative establishes that romance is not merely a series of events. It is the tender negotiation of hearts, the delicate dance of vulnerability, and the profound impact of being truly noticed and heard. The connection between them has grown, unspoken yet undeniable. Now, the pull they feel toward each other becomes harder to ignore, more urgent in its quiet insistence. The male narrator notices it in his own body, a tightening in his chest when she laughs near him, a flutter in his stomach when her hand accidentally brushes his, a nervous awareness of the space between them. And he sees it mirrored in her, the brief flicker of hesitance in her eyes, the subtle way her body seems to lean closer to his in moments of conversation, as if gravity itself is conspiring to close the distance between them. Circumstances force them into prolonged proximity, intensifying the tension. Perhaps they're working together on a project or helping each other navigate a personal task, a shared errand, or a day spent confined to the same space due to rain or circumstance. The world outside feels distant, irrelevant, while every glance, every touch becomes amplified. The small brushes of hands become electric currents. The accidental press of shoulders against each other sends subtle shockwaves through their awareness. Neither is ready to act on the growing attraction, and yet both are acutely aware of it. Social norms and internal doubts weigh heavily. He wonders how others might perceive him, a younger man drawn to someone older, while she contemplates her past, the lessons of heartbreak, and the fear of stepping into something uncertain. But in the safety of their shared moments, these doubts are tempered by an undeniable chemistry, a silent agreement that this is theirs alone, if only for now. Sensory details heighten the intimacy without crossing boundaries. His hand brushes hers when reaching for a notebook. Her fingers linger on the edge of his, as if reluctant to pull away. He notices the warmth of her arm as she passes, the faint scent of her perfume mingling with the subtle aroma of the room. Even the small act of handing her a cup of coffee feels charged with meaning, a vehicle for closeness that neither words nor social conventions can fully articulate. Emotionally, the tension is exquisite and painful. Every moment together feels like walking a line between desire and restraint. Each smile, each laugh, each shared silence holds weight. The male narrator struggles with his fascination, feeling both exhilarated and anxious. She wrestles with her own desire, sensing that her heart is opening in ways she hadn't allowed for years. The audience can feel the push and pull, the magnetic attraction tempered by hesitation, longing held at bay by careful thought. By the end of this keynote, the emotional stakes are at their peak. The characters are acutely aware of what they want, but are not yet ready to claim it fully. This is the quiet storm before the confession, the simmering tension that leaves hearts racing in silence. It's the delicate balance of restraint and desire that makes slow-burn romance so compelling, ensuring the audience is on edge, waiting for the moment when honesty and courage finally break through. This keynote sets the stage for the pivotal turning point, the confession of feelings, the moment where tension transforms into emotional revelation, and their connection deepens into something undeniable and permanent. The tension that has been quietly building between them reaches a delicate, almost unbearable peak. Every glance, every accidental brush of hands, every shared laugh has been charged with unspoken emotion. They are both acutely aware of the electricity in the air, but until now, neither has dared to name it aloud. The world feels smaller, hushed, as if it too is waiting for the inevitable moment when honesty will break the silence. It happens one evening, perhaps in the quiet intimacy of her apartment, or during a walk beneath the soft glow of streetlights after a rainy day. The air is cool, the streets empty, the atmosphere still and expectant. They've been talking for hours, sharing stories and laughter that feel effortless. Yet with each word, each look, the unspoken grows heavier. The male narrator notices the way she keeps stealing glances at him, her fingers occasionally brushing his, lingering just a moment too long. He feels the tension tighten in his chest, a mix of longing and fear. Then she speaks. Her voice is soft, hesitant at first, yet unmistakably steady with sincerity. "You have no idea what you've awakened in me," she says, her words spilling out through a breathless pause, accompanied by a shy yet radiant smile. The confession hangs in the air, charged and warm, resonating in every part of him. Her words, gentle yet undeniable, strip away the last barrier of uncertainty. For a moment, they simply look at each other, both breathing slightly faster, feeling the vulnerability of honesty. The male narrator responds, not with words that rush or dramatize, but with sincerity that mirrors her own courage. He confesses that he, too, has been drawn in, captivated by her presence, her warmth, and the way she makes him feel seen and alive. There is relief, joy, and the faint thrill of danger in admitting their feelings after so much restraint. The intimacy in this moment is subtle, grounded, and profoundly human. She lightly brushes his hand with hers as she speaks, her fingers resting briefly against his, a gentle acknowledgement of connection. He notices the warmth of her touch, the softness of her skin, the way her eyes glisten with unspoken emotion. For both of them, the act of confession is not about grand gestures, but about presence, honesty, and the mutual recognition of longing and trust. Emotionally, this keynote transforms the story. What was once simmering tension becomes shared vulnerability, a quiet celebration of mutual attraction and understanding. The audience feels the release of pent-up anticipation, the satisfaction of hearts daring to speak, and the thrill of a connection deepening into something meaningful and enduring. By the end of this keynote, the emotional stage is set for growth and exploration. The confession opens doors to intentional closeness, nurturing moments of physical affection that remain safe and tender. Hand-holding, shoulder brushes, lingering glances. The relationship moves from a delicate dance of tension to a mutual journey of intimacy, respect, and the subtle joy of being emotionally known. This turning point ensures the story remains true to slow-burn romance, balancing desire with restraint, and setting the stage for the next chapters of shared experiences, trust, and emotional fulfillment. After the confession, the world between them feels transformed. The once unspoken tension has blossomed into something tangible, yet gentle, a mutual understanding that allows them to explore their connection without fear or hesitation. They begin to spend intentional, meaningful time together, discovering the comfort and thrill of closeness in ways that feel both natural and profound. Their moments together are intimate but YouTube safe. Cooking side by side in her kitchen, sharing quiet conversations over warm drinks, or walking through city streets with their hands brushing, fingers intertwining occasionally. Every gesture carries weight, the subtle pressure of a hand against his back as she laughs, the way he adjusts her scarf for her comfort, the quiet, unspoken assurance in their shared glances. These small touches are charged with emotion, fostering trust and closeness without ever needing to cross boundaries. They also share vulnerable moments. Perhaps she recounts a memory from her past, her voice tinged with nostalgia, while he listens with quiet empathy. In response, he shares parts of himself he rarely reveals, a fear, a hope, a fleeting dream. Each revelation strengthens their bond, creating a sense of partnership that feels rare and precious. Through these exchanges, the age gap is present but subtle. It shows in their different life experiences and perspectives, not in artificial dialogue or forced reminders. Physical affection grows organically, blending seamlessly with their emotional intimacy. A casual brush of hair from her cheek feels electric. A gentle touch of his hand along her arm carries reassurance and warmth. Sitting side by side on a park bench or at a cafe, their shoulders graze, and they allow the contact to linger just a little longer than necessary. Every touch, every glance, every shared silence becomes a quiet celebration of connection, a language only they understand. Sensory details enrich these moments. The scent of her perfume mingles with the aroma of fresh coffee as they sit together in a quiet cafe. His fingers notice the softness of her sweater as they brush against it during conversation. The warmth of sunlight falling across her hair, the gentle murmur of her voice in the evening air, the way their laughter blends with the quiet hum of the world around them. These small sensations create a layered, immersive experience for the audience. Emotionally, this keynote solidifies their relationship as one of mutual respect and trust. They are not merely drawn to each other by attraction. They're captivated by the essence of the other, their presence, their kindness, their vulnerabilities. The male, by this point, their connection feels natural, almost inevitable, as though every small gesture, glance, and shared silence was preparing them for this moment of mutual fulfillment. The setting for their final chapter is gentle and evocative. Perhaps a weekend getaway to a quiet countryside cottage, a sunset walk along a riverbank, or an evening on a balcony overlooking the city lights. The world is soft around them, colors muted, air fragrant with nature or the faint scent of her perfume, and the gentle hum of life providing a subtle soundtrack to their closeness. In this space, the outside pressures, judgments, and hesitations that once held them back are gone, leaving only the intimacy of two people fully present for each other. They talk, laugh, and move together with an ease that feels earned. The male narrator notices the warmth in her eyes, the subtle curve of her smile, the way she leans slightly toward him when sharing a quiet observation. She notices the steadiness in his gaze, the attentive way he listens, the gentle strength in his presence. Their touches are tender and affirming. Fingers entwine naturally during a walk, a hand rests lightly against a shoulder during conversation, a cheek brushes against his in a quiet moment of laughter. Each gesture speaks volumes, conveying connection, trust, and desire in a way words cannot capture. The emotional intimacy reaches its peak here. They reflect on their journey together. The initial spark of curiosity, the hesitant glances, the stolen moments of closeness, the confession that opened the doors to vulnerability, and the small rituals of daily life that deepened their bond. They share laughter at their own awkwardness, warmth in the comfort of mutual understanding, and awe at the profound effect they have had on each other's lives. The audience sees the full arc of their emotional growth, a narrative that is both satisfying and relatable. Sensory-rich details enhance these moments. The warmth of her hand in his, the faint brush of hair against his cheek, the soft sound of laughter blending with the ambient world, the gentle pressure of their bodies leaning together on a quiet bench. The air feels alive with the quiet, steady rhythm of intimacy, a contrast to the tension and longing of the earlier chapters. Each sense, the warmth, the sound, the touch, the smell, is a reminder of the depth of their connection. By the end of this keynote, the story reaches its warm, YouTube-safe resolution. Their romance is complete. The The slow burn tension has been replaced by steady, heartfelt closeness. The emotional stakes have been fully realized, and the audience is left with a sense of satisfaction, hope, and quiet joy. The age gap, once a subtle source of hesitation, now exists only as a testament to their complementary strengths and mutual respect. They have grown together, nurtured one another's vulnerabilities, and found joy in a connection that is deep, enduring, and beautifully human. The final scene lingers in the mind, their fingers intertwined, soft smiles shared across a quiet space, and the unspoken knowledge that they are no longer two separate lives, but a shared journey, steady, warm, and full of the promise of more moments just like this. The story concludes with emotional closure, leaving the audience both satisfied and moved, a testament to the quiet, transformative power of slow burn romance.